Hello and welcome. My name is Jess, and here on the Knit.Purl.Repeat channel, I chat mainly about knitting. I also include sewing projects, crochet, and spinning on occasion. So if you'd like to join me for a chat, then come on in and get comfortable, grab a beverage, grab a project. Let's get started. This is episode 20. Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to join me for another chat about knitting. I also have some sewing today that, if I remember, will be included in this episode. If you're brand new to the channel, welcome. You're so welcome here. You will find all of my contact information in the description box details area for this episode. You'll also find links to my Ravelry project pages for things I talk about today, and any of the makers or shops that I mention, I will also link them in that area. If I forget to link something there, just let me know and I'll be happy to fix that. So I am, as I mentioned, my name is Jess, and I live in Southwest Florida in the Tampa Bay area with my husband and our 2 teenage sons. We just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary on Monday, which kind of really threw me off because we had the Easter holiday weekend, and then Monday was our anniversary, and then it was Earth Day yesterday, and it's just all happening, and it's almost the end of April. So I don't know. It just seemed like a weird kind of week to me. All kinds of things going on for somebody who is pretty much an introvert, unless you talk about knitting, and then I can talk about it all day long. So what do I have for you today? Well, we're inside today. I have tried recording outside. I did on Monday, but I just in editing, I realized there were a lot of issues. So we're inside today because it's also apparently landscaping day for people in my neighborhood. So there were leaf blowers and, so we're here today. I am going to do several wardrobe changes at the beginning of this episode because I have 3 finished objects to talk about today. And I will also update you on a couple of whips, including a new cast on, and the kind of regular stuff I talk about here. I have a couple of acquisitions, that's the word. And so yeah, let's get started. All right, what I'm wearing. This is one of my finished objects and one that I've mentioned and shown in my previous episodes. This is the Art Nouveau sweater, a pattern by Eleanor Mortensen. I knit this up in my Fibers Fiordalino in the colors Graphite, which is the main color. The orange is Butternut, and the pink is Pink Cosmos. This is a top-down sweater, circular yoke construction, and it's a really well-written pattern. It's only charted, but what I love about this pattern, especially makes it a great pattern, is that it's clear. It's not super long, but the instructions are clear. It's also only 2-stranded color work all the way around. And the designer gives you 2 versions in terms of color. How do I want to say this? She gives you sort of the white background with the colors on the chart, or a black background with the colors on the chart, or something, a dark background like that, which I find really useful because if you're deciding to invert your color scheme that way, do the negative, it's just so much easier for your brain to figure out the chart when you don't have to convert. The white dot is supposed to be dark yarn, and it can be a challenge for my brain. So I really enjoyed that as well. And it also just gives you that idea of, oh, maybe I like to see this version instead. It is also charted for you to use 3 colors, the main color and 2 contrasting colors. So you do alternate. On some rounds, you're working just 1 color for several rounds. Then you'll alternate which color you use in each round, then solid again and back out so that you get this effect. You could, of course, do this in 1 contrast color or in a color changing yarn, or maybe some hand spun yarn as well. Whatever you like, it's your knitting. So I chose this fiber because Lisa, who is Unwind and Knit with me here on YouTube, she is a knitter and a yarn store owner in Christchurch, New Zealand. I believe she's near Christchurch. And on her episode, she was making this pattern in this fiber and these colors. So I totally copied Lisa. And I told her we can twin, it's okay. But she mentioned like, oh, the fibers. And for her, it's a summer weight garment. It's not a summer weight garment in Florida, but it's the other 8 or 9 months of the year garment for me here in Florida. So I think that comes out really well. But I fell in love with this color scheme. You know, I normally work in blues and greens. That's what I always gravitate towards. Teal, a dark tealy green, spruce green, that is my ultimate favorite. But I always love this pink and orange kind of combination, even when I see it in the flowers and the landscaping. And when I saw Lisa's version like this, I said, that's it. Those are the colors, that's the yarn I want to use. So this was a high priced fiber for my budget, but it was my birthday and it was extremely well worth it. This is a fiber that is a mixture of wool, baby yak, and linen. And it's super lightweight and blocks out beautifully. I did not aggressively block this at all. I believe I worked size 3. I will put the needles size and my size up here on the screen. It comes in a range of sizes. It is meant to be short sleeve, but the sleeves in the pattern are knit about this long, but I just shorten them because I don't like sleeves at that length. I wouldn't have minded knitting this as a long sleeve garment, but I would have needed another ball of yarn to do that. So I just stopped it here and put the cuffs on right away. So it is cast on right at the neckline, and you do a 1x1 half twisted rib. So you're twisting the knit stitches. It's very short. And then you do some short rows shaping on the back, and then you start working into the chart pattern. And then after the chart pattern is done, you separate for the sleeves or knit for as long as you need to in the main color until you get the depth that you need in there. After I ran out of a ball of yarn, I came back and just finished the sleeves in a 1x1 regular rib pattern. You do knit 1 round and then bind off and knit per pattern instructions. I did a stretchy bind off, and you can tell, I think actually, that this side is more loose than this one. So I did this one first, and I did a stretchy bind off, but I didn't do it in my regular tension, so it did start getting a little bit too loose. But I don't think it's anything major. I can always aggressively block this one out to match it. As I said, I basically just laid it out and left it and didn't do anything with trying to stretch anything out. It does come, if I can show you. So there's the bottom here, same finish. So you do 1x1 ribbing. It's supposed to be twisted rib again. I did regular ribbing, knit 1 round, and then bound off. And so here is my natural waist and my high hip. And so it hits just about my hip height, which I find works really well for me. I don't know if you can see that. I'm a little close today. So I really love this sweater. I'm not wearing anything underneath it. It's only very, very slightly prickly, and that's because I'm very warm. It is warm out and warm in here. So I find it very soft next to skin otherwise, but anything that has wool in it or alpaca or anything like that, if I get too warm, it's gonna start to feel a little prickly, but this one is actually much softer than one of my other projects that I will show you next. Finished object number 2 is the Queen's Cami. It is a pattern by Tori Yu. It's the first of Tori Yu's patterns that I have knit, and I really enjoyed the pattern. It was well written, really clear to follow, And it is worked bottom up, and I'll stand up in a moment to show you. It's knit bottom up, and you change the gauge and the shaping by changing your needle sizes. So I knit this one in Purl Soho linen quill, which is a mixture of wool, alpaca, and linen. This was frogged from another project, and so it's been washed a few times before. So it is much softer than it was definitely out of the hank, as it's been washed on twice. This one is a little less next to skin comfortable for me than the previous one I showed you, but not by much, just a little bit. But again, I'm warm. So this will not be a summer cami tank top for me. It'll be the rest of the year. So that works really well, unless I'm traveling somewhere cooler. So let me stand up to show you the length and what I worked with it. So I'll put the size that I made up here on the screen and the needles that I used. So it is started at the bottom. I used a contrast color to cast on so that when I came back to do the fold over hem, I could see it more easily to pick up. Now the camera is picking up that on the outside really strongly. It is not like that in person. It doesn't look that way. The camera is just definitely highlighting that. I did worry that it would look like that using a lighter color, but as it turns out, it's the same color as the linen in here. So overall, I think it blends in. As I mentioned, it's really just the camera highlighting that. I don't see that when I wear it, when I look in the mirror. So I did still keep the high-low hem in the front to the back, but not by very much, just a little bit there. I knit it longer than the pattern because otherwise it would have been kind of at my belly button. So I did knit it a few inches longer. I probably would actually maybe even knit it slightly longer, or I would not change needle sizes to smaller needles until a little further up. But I think overall it fits really well. Again, I didn't aggressively block this. So here's the nice neck detail on here. And also you work this at the same time as you're working the front straps, and you do the same thing for the back. And then you do a 3 needle bind off just behind the shoulder. So the seam is back there. In fact, I keep having trouble finding the seams. So it's a really nicely done pattern where there's the only kind of picking up type of thing you did was that fold over hem, just sewing that down. And however you want to sew it, I just knit it with the next round and worked around that way and continued up the body. So everything else is finished as you knit it. The only other thing is to just seam those shoulder seams. So that's it for seams in the entire garment. So my third finished object is the Antrim shawlette. So I've talked about this in the previous episodes, but here it is finished. And I love it. Here was section 1 I talked about before. I finished section 2, which is this pretty short section where you do, you introduce color yarn B, which is the yarn from Fiber MacGyver in their Merino Twist base. The color is Madge. I got this yarn at New York State Sheep and Wool Festival in 2024. You continue the slip stitches through both, and then you get into section 3 where you do some ribbing to set up for this really pretty and easy repeat lace section. And then you finish off in section 4 with this 3x3 rib. You knit, it's like with the Art Nouveau sweater, you do 1 round of just plain knitting and then bind off. So while you're working these other sections, you're continuing to decrease on this side and then increase along this side so that you get this asymmetric triangle shawl. So you can see it here against my t-shirt. So I'd probably wear it something like this. Tend to be how I wear my shawlettes, kind of like a bandana style. I did not make the knitted cuff. It also comes with the pattern. I probably will for some of my larger shawls that tend to slip and slide and move around to hold them in place, but I don't think I'll need it for this one. So another small shawl, perfect size for you to wear, throw in a bag, and ready for travel this summer. But let's take a look at some of my more active works in progress. And the first one up are my socks for this month's Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad from April. So they're housed right now in a bag that I sewed some time ago, practicing some circular sewing and quilting. So that's that side. It's you work 2 panels and then you quilt them. And I see I've got a thread. Let's ignore that on this side. So they're housed in here. So something I just made. I can't remember if it was a free pattern or not. I can't remember the name of it. If I do remember any of that, I will link it. But this was a while ago. And inside, I just have this cute leftover fabric that has sea creatures on it. All right, so I am making the Swiss Dot Shorties, a pattern by Nancy Wheeler. And I have not been working on these very much because I've been working on a secret test knit and other projects. So I've only just resumed working on it today. If I can get my yarn under control, I will show it to you. So here is what the texture looks like. So this is the main color, and then the purl ridges are the contrast color. Every so often you make these little dots in here, these wrapped stitches. And Nancy gives you in the pattern 2 ways to do that, using a cable needle or without a cable needle. I've been doing it without the cable needle. I just find it, for me, it's been working fine. It is enjoyable. It's easy to get into the pattern, which is a common thing with Nancy's patterns, right? A little bit of interest, but not making your brain work too hard. It has a slip stitch heel flap with a garter edge to it, and then the heel turn, and then you just work the contrast color as stripes on the bottom instead of the garter ridges here. You could keep going with the garter ridges, but obviously it's on the bottom of your foot. If that bothers you, then just work it as stripes. So I have finished the gusset, and I'm now onto the foot of sock 1. So these may not be done before the end of April, but I'm okay with that. Because what I decided the other day that I wanted to spend more focus on is on my gnome for April. So I will show you that next time. I have finished the hat and the body and the arms. I just have to make the dress. I am making this pattern here, which is Normanda. It's a pattern by Sarah Shira of Imagine Landscapes. So that is my focus right now. And since I just have to make the dress and the nose and put things together, that should be done by the end of the month. And then I'll come back and work on my socks. My second work in progress is the Relax Tee, a pattern by Amy Scher of Amy Scher Makes. This is my entry into the Amy Scher Makes Make-Along for 2025. I've talked about this a little bit before, but here is my progress. So I have split, let me find the front. I have split for the sleeves, and I am now working on the body. This is how it's working up. This is very soft fabric. I really like it. I am not certain, I'm not convinced 100% that my yoke depth will be long enough for comfort under the arm, but we'll find out eventually. Since I have the sleeves on hold and I'm gonna make them very short, I'm not sure how far I'll go. I might just finish the body and then come back and then just see how things fit later on. My row gauge is slightly smaller, as is typical, but this is pre-blocking. So because this is a superwash yarn, I do expect it to grow a little bit lengthwise, and I can aggressively block it a bit and see what happens, as long as I have good positive ease. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it longer, because then we know that makes it narrower. But we'll just see how it fits. It might work out okay. I'm just not 100% convinced that it is gonna work out okay, but we'll work that out later on. I will come back later. I'm gonna save the neckline until the very end. Normally, before doing sleeves, I like to do the neckline, right? Because that affects my sleeve length. But since I'm going to make really short sleeves, shorter than the pattern, I'm just gonna leave that to the end. Work in progress number 3. I just wanted to show you quickly that I have been making some progress on my Hey Sailor cardigan. It is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. Blinked out for a moment. I am knitting it in the pattern, the original pattern yarns, which is knitting for olive cotton merino. And I chose to do it in the red and cream colorways. I debated between that and yellow, but we're going with the red and the cream color. So if I can get that for you, I will disentangle myself and show you that progress. So here we are. So I am making progress, but this is a light fingering weight yarn, and there are over 300 stitches on the needle, so it takes a bit of time. But it is actually really easy knitting because you're either just knitting, just purling, or doing some slip stitches to get the little pattern that develops, and it's just really satisfying every time I get finished with a couple of those white blocks or cream color blocks. Move on a little bit further, and then you start seeing that little pattern develop between the blocks. It's like my eyes sometimes like to look at the sort of dot pattern of the squares, and then other times my eyes really pick out those red stripes between differently. I love it. It's almost like some sort of, I don't know, art puzzle for your eyes. I don't know. Let's edit that out. I just really enjoy that. So it is mosaic knitting, working in 2 colors. So you work each row twice, once in the main color, once in the contrast color, and then you turn, work on the wrong side, once each with each yarn, and then turn again. So that's also feels a bit slower, but you are making progress right as you go up, but it is lightweight, light fingering. So when is this gonna be done? No clue, but I really feel like working on this more than just a couple rows at nighttime. Maybe I get 4 rows in sometimes, maybe 6. I think it's a 15 or 16 row repeat to get through. So I would like to keep working on this. It would be great if this were either done before we leave at the end of May for travel, or to a point where I can take it with me and then shop for some buttons, because I don't have button options locally. So that would be lovely to do that. I think for me, I have to shop buttons in person pretty much. Anyway, that is my progress. And I really am enjoying this yarn. It's my first time working with it, and it's really comfortable to work with on your hands. I am using wood needles. I'm using Chowgu fixed circular needles just to try them out. I'm not a fan of the cables so much, but because I'm working flat, it doesn't bother me, but the join is really nice. And I found that the wood worked better. Otherwise, I was really having trouble with like slipping, losing my stitches on the larger needle size. I'll put the needle size up here that I am using. I found when doing a gauge swatch that the metal, I just felt like I had no control over my tension, and it was really sloppy. So the wood has worked out really well, and I am really enjoying the Chowgu wood needles. My last work in progress to share with you today is a new cast on. So I did cast on the Pebble Beach shawl that I mentioned in a previous episode. This is a pattern by Helen Stewart, who is Curious Handmade. I am using, my ball band is stuck. I am using the Le Petit Lamb's Wool by Bichet Bouche in the color light bright yellow. It is a 50 grams, you get 248 meters, or that is 270 yards. So I have 2 of these, and this is the color, let's see. It's probably more like that. It's not super saturated or very bright. It's a very kind of nice yellow. I've never knit with this before. I purchased this yarn from the Woolly Thistle several years ago in a sample box. So they choose you get a sample of different yarns, woolly yarns that they sell at the shop, and they choose the colors for you. So you just take your chances on what you get, but I love the yellow and I've wanted to make something with this. And so I thought this was the chance to do it. So that's it. That's my progress. Actually, this is doubled this morning because I did some more work on this morning. So I am doing the shawlette size, which is the small size in the pattern. So there is now a separate file for just the shawlette size. So you don't have to go through the whole file for the medium and the large. The small size, the pattern recommends using a fingering weight yarn that you need a 100-gram skein of that. To work the medium and large sizes, it's written for yardage using a lace weight yarn. So I'm doing the small size and I'm using this two hanks, but 100 grams of this fingering weight lamb's wool, and I'm really enjoying the process. And the pattern is typical with Helen's patterns. Very straightforward instructions row by row. So I just set it up in Knit Companion and set up the tables so that I can just keep track that way. And so it's really fast right now. Of course, this morning, why it's doubled, because it's short. So you start down here and then you start doing increases and it's going to end up going out that way. So of course, it's going to get longer as time goes by. So I am knitting this as part of the Woolly Thistles shawl knit along or crochet along that's going on now. I believe it ends May 11th or so. I'll put the dates up here, or the little graphic that they have up here. That date though is the deadline for finishing and submitting to win any of the prizes. So I'm not worried about winning prizes. I just wanted to make the shawl, and this just seemed great that I wanted to use up the Woolly Thistle yarn and participate and knit along with everybody else and chat with people in the Ravelry group. They also have a Facebook group. So if you want someone to knit along with or need any help, both places are great to ask any of them. They're a super group of people that chat in there and will help you with everything. So that is my latest cast on. So that's really my only recent cast on because for some reason I was getting very excited finishing up all these lingering whips that I wanted to reward myself with my next item I wanted to cast on. So when I finished the Antrim shawl, I definitely wanted to cast on this shawl. It was next on my list and I was happy to do so. But some of the other garments and things I thought I was going to cast on and got the yarn wound up to do swatches. The next morning, I just kind of felt meh about it. Nothing seemed exciting to me to cast on, which is not normal for me. I kind of get like that with socks, but I just don't really want to cast anything else on. So fair enough, we're gonna go with that. I'm not sure why that happened, but I'm going to spend more time then on these garments, and that means spending more time also on my Hey Sailor and the shawl. But I am in the point of trying to think of now, with only just over a month to go before we travel, of what am I going to bring traveling? What do I start? Because it's probably not going to get finished before I go, right? So there's that kind of thought process. I'm not stressing over it, but the thoughts are there, right? You're travel knitting. Do I want this finished? Because I'd love to cast on the Alex sweater. So I talked about that pattern before. I've swatched for it. But then partly I'm thinking, it's warm out. Do I really want to make a long sleeved wool sweater right now? And it's not going to get finished. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen coming up next. So just keep knitting away on things until the Yarniverse tells me what I'm supposed to be working on. I have one sewing project in progress. I figure I show knitting in progress and crochet and spinning, but when I make something sewing, I don't tend to show the stages in between. So I thought, why not? We'll do that this time instead of just the finished garment. I am not really an adept garment maker. I'm not a new sewist, but garments, right, getting them to fit your body properly. I haven't really tried that hard though either, but I would like to make some more things that fit me. So I am making the Metamorphic dress by Sew Liberated. It is a reversible dress, and I have made the upper layer up here, which has this asymmetric or high-low front and back hem, which you don't have to do. In the pattern, it tells you what you can do if you don't want it to be this way, but there will be an underlayer underneath here. So the other dress that you will flip this whole thing inside out if you want to have that as your outside fabric. This has, the upper layer has patch pockets, and then the under layer will have inseam pockets. I am waiting on my under layer fabric to arrive, so I had to order that online. It's a cotton linen blend, and this is a bubble cotton gauze fabric that I got at Joann Fabrics. So because they're going out of business, the fabric was 70% off, and I just really liked this cute pattern on there. Not something I normally would wear, but you know, I really like this idea of this on top of that little bit of the black cotton linen sticking out. And then when I flip it inside out, I will have that nice solid, my solid dark outer layer. Hopefully also not too warm if they're both cotton blends. I got a massive amount of this fabric because it was 70% off. And it was actually, the fabric has the smocking already at the top. So I figured it was long enough to cut out pattern pieces for the bodice and the skirt. And there was, so I just cut off the smocking and then cut out my pattern pieces from the rest of the fabric so that it laid flat. I have lots of that left though, so probably just gonna sew up a side seam and make a light skirt, like throw over beach kind of thing on top of it. I don't know, but I've got a lot of it left over, which was good in case this didn't fit me properly. In the pattern, you work both the upper layer and the under layer at the same time. So finishing the bodice and the skirt and the pockets and shoulders before you sew the two pieces together at these unfinished edges. It's a really nice pattern. I think it would be a good pattern for someone who's a pretty adventurous beginner to do. Yeah, and there's so many videos out there that if you're not sure how to finish your edges using a zigzag stitch or how to do a gathering stitch, things like that, you can find those really easily. And I think Sew Liberated has a lot of resources on their website as well. So it's a very straightforward pattern, really easy to do. And hopefully I will be able to show you this fairly soon. If you never see it again, it'll be because it didn't work out. So this may be the only time you see it, but I'm crossing fingers that it will work out and that I will actually wear it. Okay, so that's it for works in progress. I have a little bit of an acquisition. I have actually ordered some other items, but they're not scheduled to come until different times of the year, different months. But the Woolly Thistle had a new yarn arrive. So they worked with a hand dyer in Australia to make some, dye up some sock sets, I think in colors, especially for the Woolly Thistle. And so I got in on the first batch because I wanted to try some of this dyer's yarns when we were in Australia, but it just didn't happen. And it is a Circus Tonic handmade. So I'm not sure this will show up. As usual, my camera doesn't really like to focus on this. Let's try it. I will put it on the screen because I don't think that's showing up. But it is their 80% Australian SRS merino wool and nylon blend. You get 295 yards per 100 grams. So altogether, this is about 130 grams. They call it sport sock. I would say like a sport DK weight. So this I will probably work up at a DK weight gauge. I'm not sure what. I don't know that I want these to be socks. It is so soft and squishy. They had lots of different colors, all of them these kind of subdued colorways. Some of them were speckles. I had a hard time choosing. I went with some of it based on the names because they were either, I don't know that any of them were places we visited in Australia last year, but we wanted to go to Knit.Purl.Repeat, but didn't make it. So that's still on my list. So this is the Knit.Purl.Repeat colorway. This one is called Robe, and I really just picked it because it's an inside joke for me and my family. Robe, not as a place, but relating to two individuals that at least I encountered, both of them. They were not harmful people. I didn't talk to them. It was just kind of, oh, that was odd. You know, just kind of two people that were not typical of the way most people around behaved, but not in any harmful way, but it involved robes. And so anyway, that's why I chose this color. If you ever meet up with me and you want me to tell you the story, I will. It's probably not really that interesting. It is an inside joke, but anyway, that's why I chose this color. So I apologize if this is the name of a place, as I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at the situations that happened. Anyway, those travel memories, right? So anyway, I'm not sure what I'll make with these. Maybe that would be some sort of cute little, I don't know, stripes in a top. I don't know. They're so soft and squishy and so pretty, and I'm happy that I was able to grab a couple of these. If you go on the Woolly Thistle website and they've already sold out, I don't know, they might be getting more in the future. If they will, they often have a link that says to email me when it's back in stock. So you can click on that and be notified if they get more of these back in stock. And before I forget, we're going to finish up by announcing the 2 giveaway winners. I drew winners from past episodes to receive a gift of the Booble Socks pattern, which is a sock pattern by Nancy Wheeler. It is Nancy's newest sock pattern release and her 3rd pattern, where the first week of sales go to raise funds for the Canadian Cancer Research. And as I tested this pattern for Nancy, but I still wanted to participate in that fundraiser, I purchased 2 patterns to gift away here on the channel. And so I will put the winners from the random comment picker up here on the screen. So here is recipient number 1 and recipient number 2. So if both of you could contact me, either message me on Instagram or send me a message to my email account, which is here on the screen and in the description box below. Send me your Ravelry account name, your Ravelry handle. We call those in Ravelry. Your name in Ravelry, so that I can get that to Nancy and she can send those patterns over to you. Thank you again so much for stopping by and spending some time with me. I hope you had some time to maybe craft while you were listening. Maybe there's some inspiration or a laugh or two. That's fine. And until I see you next time, have a great rest of your week or weekend and take care.